Hey, what's up, you sexy bitches, and welcome back to this week's Weekly D. Today I have the amazingly talented Kitty Velour on with me, and we talk about some real interesting stuff, like some really random stuff actually. But we talk about crystal dildos, yeah, we talk about bisexuality, and we talk about some of the amazing businesses that she runs. So this is an episode that you do not want to miss, because this is the Weekly D, and honey, if you ain't getting your D on the daily, you better at least be getting it once on the weekly.
If you're not getting any and you want some tea, then come and join Dan up on the Weekly Tea. It's the Weekly Tea.
Kitty, thank you for joining me on my podcast. It's so nice to have you on here. I've been wanting to speak to you for a while, but you are one busy biatch, aren't you?
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I am too busy for my own good. Yeah.
I know. So you were just recently on your not your honeymoon. What's it called? Hen
Oh,
do.
yeah. We had like a joint stag and hen do. We just called it a sten do. But
Yeah.
loads of people keep being like, "How was your honeymoon?" I'm like, "We're not married yet." But yeah, no, it was really, really fun. It was a wild week. Like a group of pole dancers together, partying, just twerking, splitting on everything.
I saw you like just like at all these like pool parties and stuff, just like in your splits, just totally out there. You just
Yeah.
have like no shame, and I absolutely love it. You're just like, yeah, I'm gonna do a split here. I don't care. What made you choose to do a joint one in the end?
I think I think like because if one of us was going to go to Ibiza, the other one would want to go as well. So we were
Right.
like, let's just both go. But I think I'm gonna have two more Hindus next year as well. I think I'm gonna have
Just
like a northern one and a southern one.
just do as many as you want. Just it's
Yeah,
a great excuse to party. Um,
exactly.
so for anyone who is listening to this, can you give us a little overview for anyone who's been living under a rock and doesn't know who you are? Give us a little bit of an overview of who Kitty Velour is. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I am a pole dancer, performer, like pole dancer, showgirl. And I also teach workshops. I teach like stripper style, pole, floor work, twerk, chair, and I have like an online school which is called Dance with Kitty, and I teach a bunch of different things on there. There's class recordings, hundreds of tutorials, all of the good stuff. I also sell merch as well. I think that's all the things I do. Yeah.
And what got you into the pole dancing side? Did you start stripping first, or did you start with pole dancing and then get into stripping? Or have you, that's actually such an assumption there. I mean, have you, I assume you've been a stripper before, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off as poling as a hobby. I started pole dancing when I was 16, so I started going to pole classes, and then when I was 18, I started stripping and working in strip clubs for a few years, and then I just kind of moved on to doing like more teaching and performing, just because I love the dance aspect, but I just don't like the talking to men aspect.
Yeah. You don't like the grafting part. It sounds like such a
No,
slog trying to like, oh,
massively.
yeah, like having to like make conversation with them and like stroke their ego a little bit so they'll give you money.
It's
That
too
literally,
hard.
yeah. So how long did you strip for?
It was for 2 years. Yeah, two
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah, and then yeah, I started like go-go dancing in like in a circus bar, and then I started that year I kind of started doing like festivals and doing cabaret and like fetish nights and things like that, and kind
Mm.
of like performing outside of strip clubs. But I do think like when I was stripping, that was kind of what shaped my whole style, and I learned a lot about freestyling and stage presence and all of that kind of stuff from that time. So I think that really shaped like the dancer that I became.
And was there someone at the club who kind of like took you under their wing? You have to understand as well, I've not been a stripper, so I don't know the backstage. I've been to strip clubs and seen some of the people that I know working, but you don't see behind the scenes stuff, I guess. So do you, when you go in and obviously you're like a baby stripper, you're 18 years old and the girls see you walk in, they probably think, oh, here you go, she'll be here for a few months, she's going to leave. And you know, you're there for 2 years. Did you have someone who thought, no, do you know what? This girl's really sweet. I'm going to help her. I'm going to teach her some stuff. How does it work?
Well, I think when you're a baby stripper, a new stripper, I think other strippers can be a little bit frosty because I think the naivety and like the fresh facedness kind of helps like with the job. I think on my first night I made like more money than everyone just because I kept telling people it was my first night and they were like, "Oh, we'll take you for a dance." Um,
Ah, okay, I
yeah,
see.
but later on, I think some clubs you do have a house mum, and we did have a house mum called Phoenix in one of the clubs, and she was like very tall, like platinum blonde hair, huge boobs, and she would she would teach us like some pole moves. And we had a really nice pole as well. It was like a spinny 40 mil pole, which is very rare for a strip club. Normally it's like a 50,
40.
yeah, 40 mil. Normally it's like a
Wow.
50 and it's static in a strip club. So that was nice. Yeah. In one of the first clubs I worked at, we had that. But I think I mostly learned just by like watching and like watching other dancers and trying to like copy things that they would do. And like you kind of absorb it all like a sponge, like when you're in that environment. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's how I kind of learned.
Okay, and when you were in the strip club, you said that you didn't like the whole having to, you know, talk to these douchebags who probably walked through the door. Was there any aspects of it that you just really loved? That any parts that you miss?
I just love the
No.
dancing part. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I
I was
mean,
expecting you to be like, no.
I think, yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. I think stripping is not like, it's not like disempowering or empowering. It's like, it's not really like black and white like that. It's just like a thing, and there are so many different aspects to it. But yeah, I definitely don't miss like it's like being a professional socializer or like a salesperson because you're just like constantly you need like the gift of the gab really for that job.
Yeah.
And I'm like an
Do you not
introvert.
find do you not find that our job is a little bit like that now though? Even like the job you're doing
Yeah,
now as like a you know when you're teaching online, like do you find that really hard? So I did at first, now I feel like I'm a professional. You know when you're like teaching online, you're basically having to talk to people that aren't
no one.
responding to you because yeah, you're talking to nobody and you're like you that's really hard. If you think it's hard, I always say to people like if you think it's hard to have a conversation with someone, try having a conversation with someone who isn't even there. It's even harder. It's so awkward. But yeah, I mean, I guess you've just gotten better at it over the years, have you, and just built your confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually being in the pandemic and then having to teach those online classes and where people can't respond to you because you have to mute everyone. I think that really taught me to like just chat shit.
Oh
Like
my
I,
God,
I think
same.
it actually like trained me to just like keep talking about random stuff.
Yeah, I literally, Joe, it's so funny. I've got this thing, right? It's become a bit of a tradition now. When I teach splits, you know, when you've got that time where you're basically, the aim is to hold your split and try and relax into your split. And, you know, you can give tips and be like, you know, sit up and, you know, keep your chest lifted and push your chin, whatever. But when you're there for like, you're trying to get them to hold it for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and you're like, there's only so much I can say. So I say to them, right, we're gonna hold this pose. I'm gonna tell you what I'm watching on Netflix. So here we go. You ready? This is my review. I'm watching, and I'll be like, right, let's go into your split. I'll be like, right, I'm watching Stranger Things. I've got to this episode, and this happened. Oh, I'm loving this bit. I love this character. And next minute, you know, I've just chatted about this TV show, and we're all laughing or whatever. And then you know, next minute the timer goes off, and our 2 minutes and our splits is done. So we're like, oh, that was quite easy. So
That's a
yeah,
really
just
good
I've just
idea.
honestly, it's so silly. And Athena does online flexibility. I think you know Athena, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So Athena does this thing where she'll, whatever the Tuesday topic is, she'll be like, right, I want to talk to you all about whatever the Tuesday topic is. What do you think of this? She'll be like, what do you think of the Tuesday topic? Blah, blah, blah. And she'll talk to them about it and get them to like, you know, give their opinion, and they'll just chat about it while they're trying to do their stretches. So it's really funny how you just get used to it after a while. And I think it took a long while to adapt. When you first went online, was it straight at the first point of the pandemic, or did you wait a while?
Um, I can't remember. I think it was quite early on that we started doing it, but I didn't even know what Zoom was before. Like, I was
Neither
like,
did
I was
I.
like, what is this? And I remember the first
Same.
class being really awkward because you're so used to getting that like feedback from them or
Feedback.
like body language. So afterwards you felt
Hmm.
like a bit flat. You're like, was it okay? Did they like it? I have no idea.
Right. I
Yeah.
said that to Mitch. I said like when I remember just ending it. So at, at this point, right, at the pandemic, I was crying so much. I can't even tell you. I was in a really bad place. I was not prepared for it at all. I really didn't know how to deal with it. And I said, I remember just being really upset and just being like, I don't know if they enjoyed it. I don't know if they hated it. I don't know what to do. Like, I was so stressed. But do you know what? I just say to people, even now, I just say, let me know at the end if you enjoyed it. If there's anything you like, didn't like, let me know. And I've gotten so used to it now. But when the pandemic first started, did you already have Dance with Kitty on Patreon? Did you already have that?
Yeah, so I already had a Patreon. I started my Patreon in 2018. So I'd already had
You were
it.
like way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I
You were
know.
like, bitches, I know what's coming. I'm gonna get online.
I know, but it's funny because how it actually started was I I was supposed to teach tutorials for another online platform, and I had to sign a contract saying that I wouldn't like teach any of my own stuff like online for at least a year. And I was like,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine, I'm not going to do it. And then I told Adam about it, who's my partner, and he was like, no, don't sign it. We can do our own thing. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think we can. I think it will be too difficult. And he was like, no, 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 don't sign it. We'll do our own thing. We can make our own tutorials. So it was kind of him that kind of pushed me to start it really. So I'm very grateful that he had that vision because I never thought I'd be able to do something like that. Like teaching on camera is so different to teaching like real people.
Mm. It is. It's definitely there's an art to it for sure. Especially, I think live classes online are one thing, but then there's tutorials where you literally have no one there, and it's
Mm,
literally you trying to not only teach them everything that you know about the trick, but then trying to think, right, what are the things that when I've taught this before that people have done wrong, and I can give them a heads up in this tutorial about it now. Because when you're in a live class, I can go up to the screen and be like, hey, how is it going? And then people will maybe be doing all the same things that they're doing wrong. I'll be like, right, I'm going to show you what you need to do to correct that. So you then got to in a tutorial, you don't have anyone there messing it up. So you don't know what they're going to mess up. So you've got to try and cover all bases. It's pretty difficult, isn't
yeah, I honestly hated it for years. I hated doing it. I thought it was the worst thing in the world. Because also it's hard to kind of, when you're with people, you kind of put on a smiley face and your voice is different and you're a bit more bubbly. But when there's no one there, like it's really hard to force it. You just feel kind of like
Yeah.
flat, like deadpan face. It's so
Yeah, yeah.
difficult.
And so would you say that Adam is more like the business brain behind the Dance with Kitty business, or is he like the businessy side and you're more the teaching side?
I think it started off that he was more the business side, but like now I do quite a lot of the business stuff, and he just does the filming and editing. But we do kind of collaborate on ideas together. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do like all the advertising and obviously all the choreo and all the content. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, fair enough. How long have you guys been together for?
We've been together 5.5 years.
And how
Yeah.
did you meet?
We met on set, so Adam hired me as a pole dancer in a music video. And
Ah.
yeah, and then we just got on really well. I just really fancied him from the beginning. And the rest is history. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
It's
awesome.
cute. Yeah.
So he definitely knew what he was doing there, didn't he? He was like, right, there's this really hot girl that's a pole dancer. I'm going to book her, and that'll be my way of chatting to her first.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, I wouldn't put it past him.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about on this podcast was I've written as like a bullet point. I've written sexual liberation. You're a very sexually liberated person. You aren't afraid to talk about sex on your platform, and you are very open and honest about your sexual experiences and stuff. What was the journey getting there like? Have you always been that way, or have you ever been quite shy when it comes to sex and stuff? And was there something that happened that made you just think, fuck it, actually, like this is stupid. I need to just be open about this.
It's funny because I think I was a very, very shy person, but when it comes to like sexuality and sensuality have always just been really open about it. And like, I think it's because it's something that I was really interested in and I found really fascinating. And I just didn't understand the stigma behind it. I don't know why. I feel like I was like some kind of like sexual high priestess in a past life because it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense for
yeah.
me to be so comfortable with it because I was brought up in a like religious background. None of my family are like me. Like, they don't think the way that I think at all. I'm like the black sheep of my
Right, okay.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's not always a bad thing though. And actually talking about your family, it was one of the things I wanted to ask about how is your relationship with your family? Are you close with your family or?
We all get on really, really well, but we're not like we don't really we're not too involved in each other's life. So like I live my life and they do their thing. So in a way that makes it a lot easier because I don't really have to justify things that I do to them because they're not kind of involved
Mm,
in that way. But it was a bit difficult at the beginning when I first started doing pole. And then when I wanted
mm-hmm.
to do pole as a career, they were like, that's probably not a good idea. So they were kind of
It's so
worried.
funny, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, my dad was the same. My dad was like, Dan, listen, you're not going to make money from pole. Like, you need to get like a proper job. So funny. We laugh now. But, it is just really funny. Like, there's money to be made in any industry if you work hard enough at it. Do you know what I mean? And he was just one of the naysayers, I guess. And now he always laughs and is like, God, can you remember when I said I thought you wouldn't make any money? And now it's my full-time job. So it's crazy, really. Like, do you, with your family, and obviously, I assume maybe they probably follow you on Instagram or they've seen your stuff on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Do they ever see your posts about, whether it be about, I've seen things about sex toys or bisexuality, all of these different things, do they and see any of that stuff and say to you, Kitty, like, I don't want to see that, or because I've had that every now and then where I've like spoken about things and like my family have been a bit like, Dan, really? I don't want to see that. I'm like, well, fucking don't look then, piss off.
I know, yeah, it is hard. I think my mum has sometimes like seen things that I've posted or spoken about. But the other day she was telling me like I needed to word my OnlyFans in a certain way, and I was like, Mum, you don't even know what OnlyFans is. She was just trying to tell me like how to write it. But
Oh, love
my
her.
grandma follows, well, she's friends with me on Facebook. I think she's my only family member that is. So she sees everything, but I kind of find comfort in that in a way because I kind of like I think she's interested, but it's not something we always talk about or always update her on. But because she sees it on Facebook, she knows what's going on all the time, so it's kind of nice in that way.
Do you think she's one of those people that maybe doesn't really understand it, but she loves you and she supports you, so she goes along with it? I feel like that's what my nan's like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think I don't know. I think my grandma secretly likes it, but it's just very different from like her beliefs and what she's into. But she always makes jokes about wanting to do pole dancing, and I'm like, secretly she wants to live her
Oh.
best stripper life.
Oh, good for her. Why shouldn't she? This is the thing. We've been told by society that we can't, and I think she should be able to.
100%.
Um, so, with your family, do you have any like brothers or sisters?
I have two younger brothers, so I'm like the oldest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they all live in Manchester?
No, so my Daniel, I could have not my youngest, but the other one. He lives in
Yeah.
Bristol, and then my youngest brother, he is just got into uni to go to Southampton, but he lives in Maidenhead. So they're kind of all down. All my family are down south. I've moved to
Okay. So when you
Manchester.
say younger, like how old are they? They're obviously
So
like grown.
so I'm 26, so Daniel's 25, and then Alex is just turned 18. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. So if you don't mind me asking, how old are you then? Because and you said
I'm
you're the oldest, so
26,
because I
yeah.
oh I thought you were like 21.
No,
Why did I think you were so
thank you.
It's because you just look so young, and
I know,
obviously
I do dress like a
you
toddler.
dress like a 20-year-old.
I always get ID'd
You
as well, but I think it's because of the way that I dress. They just think I'm like 12. Um,
well, you dress and you've got very youthful skin, so you just got
I've
very
got the
like
baby face.
young. Yeah, you do. What is your where is it your family are from? Because is it like what is the
So
ethnicity that you're mixed with? Because
my
like whatever it is, I want some of it because it's obviously very youthful and I need some of that in
It's
my
the
life.
Asian genes. So my mum's Filipino and my dad's English. Yeah, so it's
Oh, so that's okay. So he's from
no,
Manchester, is
he's
he?
from so all my family are from down south, so he's from like
Oh, okay.
Surrey, London kind of way. I've only moved up to Manchester because of Adam and Adam's from Manchester.
Oh, wait. So you weren't in Manchester before you
No,
met him?
I was living in London when I
Oh,
met him. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
way. Oh, so that means then probably when I ever first got to know you or followed you, you were probably living in London.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought when I saw you in London or whatever, because I thought you were just traveling into London to go and train with all your friends and stuff. So I assumed you were probably still living in Manchester. How funny.
No.
But what do you think of Manchester? Do you love
I
it?
love it. Yeah, love it so much. I think it's just such a friendly, warm city, but it's
Mm.
small, but it's got like a lot going on, like a lot of nightlife, a lot of fun like activities and events, but not too intense like how London is and how expensive it is as well.
Right, and it's ridiculously
Mm.
expensive. And you were just mentioning like the lots of events and stuff, and I feel like I see you at events almost every night. Like, how do you manage the work-life balance? Because it seems like if you're not teaching somewhere, then you're in the evening, you've got a show here, and there's so many shows. Like, I feel
Mm.
like every time I'm on your stories, you're at a different show. Like, you must just be absolutely ram-packed with gigs, no?
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to do. I don't feel like I even perform as much as some of my other performer friends, like especially my performer friends who are in
Really?
London, performing like every weekend, all weekend. Yeah. Whereas
Mm.
I used to do like one show a month maybe. Maybe at the moment I'm doing a lot more, maybe four or five. But yeah, it is a lot to fit in. But it is like one of the funnest things to do. The one of the ways to be the most creative as well with performing.
Yeah, I was going to say, and all of the shows that I watch you do, they do look very, very creative and look like a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And you mainly do, so it's, I always see you doing hoop, but do you do pole as well at these events, or is it mainly hoop you're doing at the
Yeah, I
moment?
do pole, I do hoop, I do like chair and burlesque as well. So
Hmm.
I do too many things. I feel like I should like
Do
laser focus
everything.
on like I mainly
Yeah.
enjoy doing pole and aerial. I find it so hard to dance without a prop. Have you ever tried, like dancing
Oh,
without like equipment?
right. It's really hard. It is really hard. Like, that's why whenever you see me dancing on the floor, it tends to be very tricky style because I'm just not a dancer as such. It's all those sort of like I'll be doing like the fish flops and all these cool little tricks and stuff because I just can't move without just when you're like, oh, I need to be
Yeah.
choreographed. Someone has to sort of teach me something. But yeah. Hey, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to come on and tell you about one of our sponsors for this podcast. And this podcast is sponsored by Polos. I know what you're thinking. Wait, isn't Polos your business? Yeah, it is. Listen, if you can't support yourself, who can you support, hey? Polos is an online store where we sell lots of pole related merchandise. You can get everything from pole dancing princesses, pole dancing dogs, pole dancing cats, all the way up to tops that say heels bigger than your dick. So it's very much varied in its approach. We've got some rude ones and we've got some super cute ones. So if you're looking for a nice top for someone who just wants a nice little dog pole dancing on a pole, go for it. That's where you need to go, polos.com. And if you want a bath bomb that's in the shape of a penis, because let's be honest, why wouldn't you want that? Then yeah, you need to go to polos.com and get yourself a dick-shaped bath bomb. Go and check us out now, polos.com. We did kind of go off subject there, but I want to go back to it a second. So the sexual liberation journey, we're going to call it. So becoming, a very sexually liberated person, very open about it. Um, would you say there was anything that particularly triggered that in you to make you so confident? Like, was there a time, like, how long ago was it that you kind of came out like that in the sense that you were very open about it?
I think when I started pole, I was kind of because I was 16 and I was a teenager and I was kind of going through this kind of rebellious phase. Because I was brought up Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, was that the religion that you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So it's quite intense. It's quite a lot of strict beliefs and being a pole dancer is obviously not in a line with that.
Not at
But
all.
no, but I think because of that, like the taboo of it, I think that made me want to do it more. And I feel like when I was doing it, I just loved it so much. And sometimes, like when I post things that I know are a little bit out there, I'm kind of like, this is awkward, but like if I don't post about it, then no one will, kind of thing. And I think sometimes those things need to be spoken about and shared
Mm.
because they shouldn't be like surrounded with shame. Like when I posted recently about my little period leak, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna put it on there.
Yeah, but do you know what though? Do you ever find? I notice sometimes. Did you put that one on your story? Because maybe I missed that one. Did you put that on your
No, I
story?
put it on my
I'm
main
just.
feed. It was from one of the festivals that I did recently.
Right, okay. Do you ever find like, because sometimes I've seen you post posts that have been quite open and honest. I think it was actually back when it was you were talking about your skin. Remember the situation where you posted your before and afters and stuff, and lots of people were
Mm,
like really like thank you so much for being so open because for people like us who are very much in like the I don't know what you want to call it, but like public eye, do you want to call it as pole dancers, we're quite well followed. So for us to be open and honest about things like that, I think is super important. Do you feel like you have kind of like a moral responsibility to be quite open and honest with your followers?
yeah, definitely. I feel like it's important to be authentic, and you know how social media is like the highlights and the aspirational version of yourself. And I think it's just really important to always show like both sides of the coin, kind of thing. And I think that makes you more relatable as well, like when people can see your flaws and um, the struggles that you have, they kind of
Mm.
connect with you more. And I think that's really precious.
Do you ever get the flip side of that? What's the flip side of it? You obviously get people who are very nice about it, but do you ever get any like hate from saying some of the things you say?
I don't think I have recently. I think at the beginning I did. Like, I don't know if you've had this as well, but when you've kind of made it a business and it's kind of legit, people kind of like, oh, okay, it's cool now. But when you first started, it was like difficult to kind of prove yourself that this is a thing that you actually want to do as a career. And I think people were, people I knew were quite mean and not supportive of it at the time. But
Oh,
now I
you
just
mean
live
like
in a
people you
bubble.
know kind of thing, so like friends
Like
and
people
stuff.
I went to school with, or
Right, okay.
yeah, people, yeah, just people that I knew at the time. But I feel like I have such a different circle now. Like I kind of live in this little pole dancing bubble.
It's
I work
nice,
from
isn't it?
home. I don't interact with muggles.
No.
So I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, it's and actually I want to talk to you about that. So I feel like I went through a stage in my life where I did that as well, where I only really interacted with pole dancers and I lost contact with a lot of my what I call non-pole dancing friends. And it felt like quite a lonely place at one point because I was like, these people that I'm interacting with are pole dancers, so they're all just people that are really talking to me because a pole dance, like it's work. And I felt like I
Mm.
had no balance of work and personal life. What about you? Would you say you have quite a good balance of I assume you do have some friends who don't pole still, right? I know you joke and say you don't talk to muggles, but I assume you have some non-pole dancing friends, or do you actually not have any?
No, I do have some non-pole dancing friends, but yeah, a lot of like my social life is like with work as well. Like at all the events I perform at, sometimes we stay and hang out and we have drinks and things like that, and that kind of like is the social life as well.
Yeah.
But I think I went through a phase where I really didn't want anyone to know like the real me. I wanted to be Kitty Velour all the time, and I'd always introduce myself as Kitty, and I wouldn't let anyone call me by like my like birth name or anything like that. So I think it was a kind of like way to like an escapism from myself. Whereas now I think I have a little bit more balance and I just allow myself to, I don't have to be this kind of sparkly, jiggly person all the time. I can just be normal, and that's okay as well.
Yeah, I think. Do you ever tell people your real name? I'm not asking you to say it here, by the way. I actually.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you do introduce yourself as your normal name as well, or do you always say Kitty?
I do say Kitty quite a lot, but sometimes when it's on the spot, I have to like think in my mind as like if it's a pole dancer, I'll probably say Kitty, but if it's in a non pole work situation,
Yeah,
I'll say like Jazz. Like, well, my name's Jasmine, so I'll just
right.
say like, oh, my name's Jazz. But it's a bit confusing. And some people, like Adam's dad and mum, kind of call me both. They call me Kitty and Jazz. So it's just, yeah, it's a little bit confusing.
Do you feel like having that character, the Kitty Velour, because I guess in theory that is kind of what it is. It's a persona, isn't it? It's a an energy of the person you are when you're performing as Kitty Velour. Do you feel like sometimes it can be quite easy to get trapped in that persona and not be able to, like you said, not be able to turn off? Have you ever been through times where you felt like you kind of wish you could just turn the Kitty Velour off and just go back to jazz?
Yeah, I think it is hard sometimes to I think to let go of the persona. I like even went to like therapy about it as well because I'm having like an identity crisis.
Right.
But it was I think it's like the stage persona is like a perfect version of you, and sometimes it's hard to accept the real version of you because it's a lot more flawed and there's a lot more kind of baggage and trauma there, and it's easier to be like the pristine version, and it's a
Hmm.
lot more work to just be like dealing with yourself as you are with all your imperfections. So it's something that I've all like I think I continue to make progress with that throughout my life. It's something I'll always have to work on, but it can be easy to lose yourself in that kind of world and that kind of like gratification of being like this special person that people really like, and
Hmm.
then not wanting to lose that.
And therapy was something that helped you through that, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think it was just allowing myself time to do stuff that's not to do with work. I mean, it's hard when you're self-employed and we put so much like time and effort into our jobs, but we don't always leave enough time to just be, just be a normal person and do normal things, like having other hobbies that are not like to do with
Right.
dancing.
Yeah, it's hard. I think when you're self-employed, we have this thing where we it's really hard to describe it. I always say to people that I'm always thinking, right, I need to make as much money as possible because I've got these bills to pay. And then you're like, so say for example, my bills are £1,000 a month. I have to make £1,000. So you go crazy, crazy hard working, working, working. And then all of a sudden, workshop, 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 workshop. They start booking up, and you're like, oh, wow, actually, I've made way more than I actually needed to because there's no way of being able to tell what's going to be enough. So you go over and above so that you know you're going to have the money, and it's one of those things. Next minute you know, you look in your diary, you're like, oh fuck, I've actually booked myself up fully for this month, which is way more than I needed to. But you don't really think about that at the time, do you? Until you're like, oh shit, I have no free time.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's just self-employed life, don't you think?
It is. I think it's that there's that whole kind of like stereotype of like a struggling artist, and you feel like you need to constantly be putting yourself out there because otherwise you're not going to be able to like feed yourself. But sometimes we get into a pattern of like overcommitting and saying yes to everything. I think I
Mm.
remember I was doing something online. Like I think it was like life drawing or something, and you messaged me and you were like, you need to like say no. You need to take a day off. And I was like, I
Yeah,
know, I
yeah. I
know.
remember you were like, "Oh, I've just done this, 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 and this, and now I'm doing this." I was like, "You literally need someone to manage you who can say no because it's like you say yes to everything."
I know.
But I used to do that, and I to a certain extent I still do. Like I used to say yes to all the judging I got asked to do. I don't know if you do the same, but and now I just don't do any of it. I just say no to all of it because I was just like, right, that's one thing that I can cut. I don't need to
Mm,
do it. It's nice to do it, but I wasn't enjoying doing it as much anymore. I was like, I'm just going to say no to that now. So I'm better at it, but I'm still, it's a really hard thing to do. Like, because as well, it's that whole thing of like, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that they've asked me. So I feel like I have to say yes. Do you ever get that feeling where you feel like you should say yes because you feel quite grateful they've asked you?
yeah, definitely. I think especially like being a performer and working in like cabaret and stuff, like you work really, really hard to like be a person that's other people want to book, and it's that kind of status thing as well of like being out there and being seen and stuff. So it's hard to sometimes say no to a show because that's something that you would have dreamed of, like years ago. You would have dreamed of getting all of these bookings and all of this work. But it's good because it means you can pick and choose what things that you actually like and what things that matter. But it's hard, isn't it, to say no because you feel like you
Yeah,
get FOMO. You're like, oh, is it a missed opportunity? But it's like, no, there will be more things. It's
of
fine.
course. Yeah. And what is the goal for Kitty Velour? Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Have you got a show that
Oh
you would
my
love to
gosh.
call you? Like, is there a show that you'd love to be? Would you love to produce your own show? Or in fact, you have produced your own show, haven't you? You've got the
Yeah.
Pussy Parlor, right?
Yeah, the Fussy Parlor. That has been a dream of mine for ages, to have my own show, but it was just like the magnitude of like organizing something like that and not having any experience with like organizing events and things. But yes, it is happening. It's on the
And you
17th
sold
of
out all your
September.
tickets, didn't you,
Yeah,
already?
we sold out in one day. I'm doing another one in November. So I'll put those tickets on sale soon. But yeah, I'm really excited to have something that's like mine and I can do it the way that I want to do it and book the performers that I really like. And yeah, I'm so
And
excited.
I assume based off the name Pussy Parlor, it's a female only. Like, are they all sex workers or no?
It's just kind of like all sexy, filthy vibes. So
Right.
it can be any kind of gender or any kind of style, a style of sexy, but it's just all a bit more filthy stuff. Because a lot of the cabarets that I do, it's all very like 1950s, 1920s, like more traditional. And I
Right.
just don't think there's anything like contemporary out there for like the style that I do and that I enjoy watching. Like I just really like filthy kind of sexy vibes, but it's yeah, there's not actually that many shows like that that have that kind of thing.
And you've sold out a show, and I assume you're probably close to selling out the other show if you haven't already. Have you sold out the other one as
I
well?
haven't put them on sale yet, but
Okay.
I allowed like some of the performers to buy tickets and stuff, and all the VIP have already gone. So I haven't even
Wow.
put it on sale yet. I need a bigger venue. I definitely need a bigger venue.
So what's stopping you from doing that? Like, what's I asked this because we're going to go into it in a second about, Kitty Velour, the businesswoman, which as much as maybe you might or may not like that, that is what you are. You've got lots of different businesses. Um, do you look at the Pussy Pie and think, right, this show sold out within, 24 hours or a week or whatever it was. I feel like this could be you'd like, oh, what's it called in London? There's a thing in London, the underbelly, I think they call it the underbelly or something
Yeah,
like
the
this, and they have
underbelly.
like
Yeah.
the underbelly, and they have like all the circus like shows go there, don't they? And they do like a short stint for like the Christmas period or whatever, and they do a show there. Have you ever thought of creating a show like that where it was like a filthy style adult show that travels the world? Like, is that a dream that you would love to fulfill, or is there something similar to that that you've got in mind?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that would be like the long-term goal. Just kind of want to start slow and then kind of
Of
build up
course.
as we go on. But yeah, I'd love to do like have the Pussy Parlor at festivals and have it like tour different cities and like go abroad. That would be the absolute dream. I would love that.
So, is the show like full nudity? Are you allowed to get fully naked?
Well, most venues don't have you have to have a license for full nudity. So I don't think the venue has a license for that. I think only like strip clubs really have like SEV licenses. So it won't be full nudity, but it will definitely be as close to nudity as possible. Nipple covers,
Does
pasties,
I was
thongs.
just about to say, does nipple if you're covering the nipple and you've got the pasties on, does that does that avoid it? As soon
Yeah,
as the pasty comes off, is that then violating it? It's the
I
nipple
think
that's causing the
so.
issue.
It's the nipple. Yeah, I don't know
Free the
why. Free the
nipple, free it.
nipple. I know it's crazy, but yeah, it's the nipple that sets it off.
So it's going to be very much like more like tasteful, like sexy. So you're going more for the tasteful, sexy side rather than full on nudity.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be still sexy and filthy. It's just gonna be stripping down to yeah, pasties and a thong, which is kind of what I'm more used to today. I don't really do like full nude shows
Yeah.
anymore anyway. Because most places it's not allowed. So
And it's called Pussy Parlor, but you're saying that there'll be lots of different genders at
yeah,
like performing. Okay,
yeah,
nice.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Just
that's
all of the
awesome.
genders, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really good, and it's inclusive, so that's quite nice. I didn't know if it was called Pussy Parlor because it was just going to be all women, so I didn't know if you
No,
kind of marked
well,
it.
obviously we love the pussy energy, but it's just kind of like fits in with like Kitty Velour kind of feline
Yeah,
branding, and just also sounds really femme and fun.
awesome. And what sort of performances are going to be at the event? Is it going to be like a mix of aerial contortion and all these sorts of different things,
Yeah,
like burlesque?
I want it to be a kind of variety because that's what I love about performing in cabarets is that you get all different types of disciplines and acts. So I want to have like drag and circus,
Yes.
and sing like I want to have some singers as well, and obviously pole and yeah, just all sorts of things.
You need to bring it to London because I'll come and watch it. I'd love to come and see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
definitely.
because you forget how far away Manchester is actually. Like I had
Yeah,
to fly from Manchester a while ago, and I was like, "Fuck, I forget how far this is. Like it's
yeah,
really
it's really
far."
far to drive. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it's much better on train, of course. Um, and I was just mentioning a minute ago, like you've got the Pussy Parlor, you've got your merchandise, you've got your online training, you've got your workshops. That's just four I can think of off the top of my head. So you definitely have a an entrepreneurial spirit. I know not everyone likes that word. I'm not crazy about that word. I do think the word entrepreneur sounds a bit wankerish, but that is technically what you are. You're a businesswoman. Have you always had that businessy spirit inside of you, or has someone in your family pushed that onto you? Or
No, not really. I think if I think about when I was at school and you could take business or business studies, couldn't you? I always thought that sounded so boring and like just never going to be useful. But obviously it is the most useful thing because, running your own business is running your own business is quite a lot when you've had no kind of experience with it. I think you just have to learn by as you go along, like kind of trial by fire. And you realize like, right, I need good systems in place so I can like make the most of out of doing what I love. You can't really do
yeah.
pole like without the business or without the social media. It's all so important.
Do you ever find that you get probably maybe even from other people in our industry? I know I've definitely got it before because I always describe myself as a polar, but also as a business person. I have like the same as you, quite a few businesses that I run. And you sometimes, you mentioned about the struggling artist, and I get this vibe a lot, especially within our industry. People almost feel like making money is sometimes a bit of a taboo. I can't quite understand it. Like when someone's making loads of money, it's almost like they're being a bit selfish. Have you ever gotten bad vibes off of anyone because of the fact that your businesses are doing so well?
Um, I don't think anyone's ever said anything to me. I do think sometimes you feel like a bit embarrassed to talk about like money with people. You feel like you can't, if you do have a successful month or period of time, you feel like you can't really share that because people will think you're an asshole. And I think there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of taboo around money. But I think I think it's great that as creative people that we can make money, and I think that we should be really proud of like making lots of money, and that's something that we should talk about more because it's something that we deserve, don't you think?
Exactly. I think we deserve it. And I think, our talents are something that we work so hard on for such a long time without any financial rewards. So when we do eventually get the financial reward, we should be so happy and proud of ourselves for doing so. But yeah, no, I've definitely, in the past when people have sort of spoken to me about it and they're like, or they've come to my house maybe and they've been like, wow, like, but it's just I'm very good with my money, and actually, I actually owe that to my dad probably because growing up in half of my family are Jewish, and they're all
Oh,
really good with their
really?
money because Jewish people notoriously are very well known for being good with their money. So yeah, I've just grown up around people who have always taught me and instilled these sort of like money values. I guess it's always like don't gamble your money. Don't invest your money where you can. Don't just spend frivolously. I do try and treat myself. There was a period where I felt like I never bought anything for myself. I used to just save, 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 but I feel like it comes hand in hand. If I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been able to buy my first house. And it's little things like that that I think, well, it does help. But yeah, definitely in this industry, I find like the business pole is sometimes I feel like people look down on it almost like we're being almost like we're being greedy, maybe.
Mm.
And it's like, well, there's nothing stopping other people from doing the same thing. It's just they choose not to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I have heard people say like quite kind of snarky comments about like pole stars and like how they all have like their own like merchandise and businesses these days, and like they kind of said it in a way that it was like annoying. But I don't know, I think it's a good thing. Like I think like artists should make a lot of money. I don't think you should have to do certain jobs and only those jobs are like kind of financially abundant. I think it's great that we do something that we love so much and is really fun, creative, helps people, and also makes lots of money. Like that's, we can have it all.
I remember when the pandemic happened, and as I'm sure you will agree, people like you and me, the pandemic was obviously bad for us because we couldn't travel and teach. But we were supplied with an abundance of online students
Mm,
because it opened up the opportunity for people to train with, like you probably would have had students from America, from Canada, from Australia, who generally will probably maybe what will never ever be able to meet you. Let's be realistic. Like some of them maybe will never ever be able to because you won't go to Australia and they can't afford to come here or whatever. So it's opened a door for them to be able to say, actually, I can't believe it. I was able to train with someone who I have adored online, and I can train with them now and actually speak to them. And it feels almost as good as training in person with them. And yeah, so lots of the pole stars we did amazing. And I remember seeing a post because obviously I'm a studio owner as well. So I remember a studio owner posting saying, "Oh, is anyone really struggling with their online classes and stuff? I feel like all of my students are just going to." All the pole stars, and it doesn't really seem fair, like, that the pole stars are making all this money and stuff whilst the studios are suffering. And I didn't comment on it because I just thought there's just no way that anything I'm going to say is going to offer any reassurance here. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but these pole stars have worked their asses off for years. Do you know what? I remember I used to always be like, why do I work so hard to get all these followers? Yeah, it gets me workshops, but, I've never been so grateful for my online following as I was in March 2020. Fuck my life. Oh my God. I said to Mitch, I was like, this is why I've always worked so hard on social media. I assume you probably got quite a lot of extra patrons when the pandemic happened, right? Would you say the pandemic changed your business? Like, how did it change it?
yeah, I think it made me realize how valuable it was because I think, as I mentioned
Mm,
before, I found recording the tutorials really, really hard, and Um, I found it really difficult. But I think like during the pandemic and just seeing like how much it did help people to be able to continue training online, and people who probably didn't know about online classes or Zoom before now knowing about it, I think it made me realize like, wow, this is actually something that is so scalable and so valuable and important and that I can use, forever pretty much. And also
mm,
when I was really ill, at least I had that because it was already all pre-recorded and it's kind of like almost sort of passive income in a way because it's already all there, like all the content is there. That really saved me and I was able to take time off to actually like get better. So I think now I look at my business online in a very different way and I can see how, yeah, just how important it is.
Are you comfortable talking about the time that you were ill and
Yeah, yeah,
what caused it and stuff like that? You're happy
yeah,
talking
that's
about it?
fine.
I wanted to check because we hadn't checked. I hadn't checked with you at the
Yeah,
beginning.
it's all good.
But can you tell us a little bit about sort of like give us an overview of what actually happened? I know you posted about it, but for anyone who just heard that, they'll probably be like, "Oh, she was ill. What was?" So can you give us an overview of what happened?
Yeah, so I was suffering with a condition called topical steroid withdrawal, which is a drug withdrawal. And I had eczema from when I was very little, like from a baby, and the doctors would always prescribe me steroids. Like lots of people who have like eczema and psoriasis will be familiar with steroids. But then I came across this like blog or something, a post about how your skin can get addicted to steroids and kind of basically just messes up your whole system. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the steroids hadn't been working for me anymore anyway. I was like, maybe I'm going to stop using them, because they kind of thin your skin and kind of mess up your hormones as well. So I just went cold turkey. And then I was kind of okay for a few months, and then I got really, really sick where my whole entire body was flaking, oozing. I had really bad insomnia. Never had insomnia before this. I had zingers,
Wow.
just like
You had what, sorry?
zingers, which is like your
What's
nerve
that?
endings like sparking. So it's like you're being zapped. It's quite painful.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
awful because
I've never heard of
yeah, it's
that.
because in the steroids, it's got like synthetic cortisol, and it kind of damages your nerve endings. So when I was recovering, my skin was like making new nerve endings. So I was getting like zapped all the time. It was super weird. Like sometimes, like for example, if I touched a hot pan, it would give me a little shock, and then it would run all the way through my arm, all the way down my body like a Mexican wave. Like I could feel all the nerve
Oh my
endings
God.
like zapping all the way down. It was super weird. So I was really
Wow.
sick, like homebound, couldn't leave the house. I couldn't really walk at one point, for about 5 months. Yeah, I started sleeping again properly in like March, I think it was. The sleeping was awful. Like I'm so glad that I could sleep again. Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. That my value my sleep so much anyway. So for me, that literally sounds like
It was
absolute
hell.
hell. So how is your skin
It's
now?
really good. It's really good now. It's probably better than it ever has been. I think since coming off those drugs, this is like actual my real skin, and my eczema might not even be that bad. Like I don't know when it kind of finishes. I think as time has gone on and months have gone on, it just gets better and better. So next year it might be even better again. I don't know. But
That's
it
amazing.
was worth it to go just cold turkey and be really sick for a few months, but then to come out the other side and be like not reliant on this medication anymore, and to have like real skin and not have to be like, oh, I need to put this cream
Yeah.
on, and yeah, it's just worth it.
Upon reflection, do you wish that maybe rather than going cold turkey, that maybe you just reduced it and then reduced again, then reduced again? Would that have changed anything, or would it still have had the same
I don't
effect?
think it would have worked. I don't think it would have worked that way for me because the steroids kind of stopped working. So I'll be putting them on, but they wouldn't
Ah,
really work maybe for like a very short period of time, which made it easier for
right.
me to go cold turkey, I think. But I know some people who have gone through TSW and are still who are like further along. Like I'm about 15 months since I gave it up, but some people are like 2 years and they're still really sick, or they can't,
Oh
they
God.
have to go to work, so they can't like not use the steroids, even though they know that they've got this drug withdrawal issue. So I was really fortunate that I could just take that much time off and just heal and then go back. And I think that's why I recovered quite quickly compared to other people I know.
And was it like constant sickness, or did you have periods where you'd maybe have a couple of weeks where you felt all right, so you'd like be able to work a little bit, or was it literally constant for
It was
those
like
months?
constant. It was awful. It was awful.
Wow.
I had to smoke weed, and I had to have like weed brownies to like deal with the zingers and like the insomnia. And I just played like video games, which I don't even do. Like I'm not a gamer, but it was just something to like keep my
Your
mind.
mind
It kept my
busy.
hands busy as well, so I wouldn't scratch. I completed Lego Harry Potter.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
bless
great.
you.
It was,
Oh
yeah.
God. S- So what's next for Kitty? What's coming up? Like, because I mentioned it earlier, but we didn't really go over the answer of it. What is like? Do you have? I always call it a 10-year plan. I don't ever think anyone's really got a 10-year plan, but do you have anything that? What's the goal? Is there somewhere you'd like to reach?
I don't know. I feel really grateful for like where I am at now. And when I take a step back, I think like, wow, like I'm living my dream life. Like I'm doing so many things that I really, yeah, could have only imagined like 5 years ago. But yeah, I love goal setting and I love making like Pinterest boards, vision boards. I have got a 10-year vision board on
Nice.
Pinterest. Yeah, I do.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice.
I just find it really fun. But yeah, I think I want to grow like the Pussy Parlor. I want to grow my online business. I would like to. do a little bit more traveling. I'd love to go to Australia and teach. That's like one of my goals. I want to have a
Hmm.
baby in a few years as well, so that will be like a huge change, a huge step. Maybe one day I'll have my own
Yeah.
studio as well, like an in-person studio. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of things.
So yeah, you got a lot of plans.
Yeah.
I want to talk about so kind of going away now from business more onto sexuality because one thing you are very open about is bisexuality and how that plays a role in your life. When did you discover your bisexuality? Was it from a very young age or?
Um, I think it was like around like teenage years. I don't think, yeah, I think before that, I used to have a really big crush actually on Jessica Rabbit. She was like my first femme fatale, like introduction. Love
Nice.
Jessica Rabbit. But yeah, at school, I think I know lots of girls do this anyway, but I used to always like kiss my friends on nights out and things like that. And um, I think then I kind of knew I was bisexual. But there was another girl at my school who did come out as bisexual, and she got quite a lot of like stick for it, people saying that she was like attention seeking and it was fake and things like that. And I think that really kind of embedded itself in my brain. I was like, oh, I can't be open about this because people are going to shame me
People
for
are
it.
gonna.
So I kind of never really,
Yeah.
I didn't really speak about it as openly after that time. But then, oh my God, it's because it's got the plug in it, you know, the charger, so it's
Oh
kind of
yeah, don't
balancing.
worry. You're okay. I can still see
Okay.
you. So when she came out as bisexual in school, is she still out as bisexual now,
Yeah, I
or
think so. I think so.
oh you're
No,
not
I
friends
didn't.
anymore? You
I
don't
wasn't
know
really
her?
friends with her. She was just another girl in my year. But I think that was like one of the first
Right, okay.
people that I knew who had come out as bisexual, and that was like my first experience of it in a kind of public space. And so it kind of, yeah, it kind
Yeah.
of like put me off or made me think, oh, like people are just going to think I'm saying it for attention or that it's just a phase and things like that. So
Yeah.
I never really spoke about it that much in school, I think, after that. Um, but yeah, just last year, I had a lot of conversations with other bisexual people and just kind of like debunking all these myths about what bisexuality is. And I was like, oh, this has made me feel so much more comfortable to be open about it. So I think it was after that year that I kind of decided to like post about it online and just make it a bit more like obvious.
My stepmom used to always say to me, she's like, Dan, every woman you will ever meet is bisexual. She was like, I don't care what they say. She's like, every woman has at least kissed another girl before or found another girl attractive. She's like, every woman has got a little bit inside them where they've got a slight attraction to women. And I've got another belief that maybe even men might feel the same in some ways towards other men. Not all men, of course. Um, but, there might be a guy where they look and think, oh, actually, he's pretty good looking, or he's like quite fit, And I think it also makes me sometimes wonder, maybe God intended for us to all be bisexual, and to kind of go both ways. It's one of those things that who knows, but here we are now. What about you? So with your bisexuality, have you got one way that you sort of prefer over the other? Again, sorry if that's a really ignorant question to ask. I don't really know how it works, but do you have one that you prefer? I know you're with a guy at the moment, you're
Yeah.
marrying a guy, but is that just by chance, or do you actually prefer women
I
normally, or?
think I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't really talk about being bisexual because I did think I had like more of a like a bias towards men, but I definitely had an attraction towards
Mm,
women as well. But I'd never had like a serious relationship with a woman. I'd only kind of like maybe just dated or like been with women. But um, yeah, I think I do have a bit of more of a bias towards men, but then I also think like, is that just because of the way I was raised, or is it just because of like society's kind of, perceptions and things like that? But also bisexuality isn't like 50-50 either. Like it's not like that. And that's something that I thought for a long time, like you have to be like straight down the middle, but
right.
it doesn't really work
Straight
like
down the
that.
middle.
And then some
Okay.
days I feel like I'm more attracted to women than other days as well. Like I think it just kind of like sexuality is kind of fluid and I think it can like change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's fair enough. And so I hope this isn't too personal, and if it is, please just stop me in my tracks. Because obviously you are with a guy at the moment, and you find both sexes attractive, and I assume there's probably lots of other bisexual people in the same situation, and they, maybe they want monogamy, maybe they don't, but if they want monogamy, do you ever feel like, oh, well, I'm with Adam, but actually, I really just want to have sex with a woman, like, and if you're not in an open relationship where you can do that, how is that managed?
Well, we're not in an open relationship, but like I do kiss girls sometimes, and then he will kiss boys sometimes as well. But it's more just like,
Oh, he's
well,
bisexual as
I
well.
think he is, but he says that he's not, but he just likes to like snog a guy every now and again. I'm like, oh yeah, but yeah, I think it. I
Oh,
know.
Adam, I love him.
But it's just like, yeah, something that we kind of do, like that's kind of just like fun for us, and we always tell each other about it, or like sometimes I'm even there and Adam's just snogging some guy at the gay bar. I'm like, yeah, I'll leave him to it. But yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant. Do you ever have like sexual experiences together where you'll like go? I asked this because I was watching this program just recently. It was about people that wanted to open up their relationships. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a BBC on a BBC or something like this. And these couples would go to this like house where there was lots of other open relationship couples and just experiment and see if they wanted to do it or not. And they had a psychiatrist there who would like
oh,
talk them
that's
through it and
cool.
stuff. Do you ever? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like a good way for people to really try it. But do you guys ever delve into any stuff like that, or
I
not
think
for
we've
you?
definitely spoken about it, but I think ultimately I don't think it is for us. I mean, I don't think I'd have time. I don't have time to date anyone else.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, can you imagine? It's that whole thing of like having to find the freaking time. I barely find the time to have sex with him, let alone have sex with other
Exactly. It's
people.
like, no,
Fucking
I
hell.
don't know. Like my poly friends, I'm like, I don't know how they do it, how they schedule it all in. But I think it does add a
Sorry, I get so confused. Poly is where you have
polyamorous.
sex
Yeah,
with
it's when
you're
yeah, you're open. You basically can be in a relationship or in love with more than one person. Yeah,
that was it.
yeah,
Okay, sorry. Yeah. It's so you can be in a relationship with more than one. Okay, so that's why when you see, groups of people who are all in a relationship together, maybe three or four people,
yeah,
they're all poly.
yeah,
That's what
exactly.
okay, cool. Do you know what? I know it sounds stupid, and I know about all of them, to be honest, most of them, but I get the names all confused. Bisexuality, polyamory. Or I'm like, hold on, I'm like, wait a second, which one is that one? Which one is that one? And then I have to think about it. I'm like, oh, damn it. And then sometimes I find myself even having to Google them sometimes because I'm like, I
Yeah, there's a
totally know
lot of
what that one
different
is.
terms
But
around, isn't there?
yeah. And what do you think about that? Do you find it hard to keep up with yourself? Like as someone who is quite, well educated, I would say, well more than me anyway, in the ways of sexual liberation and sexual orientations. Is it hard for you? Do you sometimes think, oh, hold on, like what is that called? Or do you ever get confused?
I think we're always learning. I think it helps because I'm in like a lot of queer spaces, performing a lot of queer spaces, so I'm always kind of around those people, and I
Mm.
learn a lot from that. You know, when I was at Wilderness as well, like most of the people I was working with were like non-binary as well, and Wilderness is
What's
a
wilderness?
festival. I think it's in
Okay,
Oxford. Yeah, yeah. So,
nice. Yeah. And I think Manchester as well is a very openly queer, accepted place. Like it's the gay scene there is amazing. Like if I ever want to go like gay clubbing, I'd either go London or Manchester, like maybe Brighton. Like they're the kind of three places that I would first think of. So yeah, definitely I think if you were a queer person wanting to find a very accepting queer space, Manchester would be
yeah.
right up there. And did you get as much of a vibe like that when you were in London or more so in
Yeah, I think
Manchester?
Manchester is like a very gay, queer city, just like Rainbow Central. Pride here is insane. Yeah, it's
I love
amazing.
that
No, I love
though.
it. I love it. Yeah, I think London, especially East London, there's like a really big queer performance scene there, and that's kind of like the scene that I kind of grew up in when I started performing. So I've always always been with those people and
Hmm.
really like fond of those venues in that space as well. So yeah, London has an amazing queer space.
Yeah, no, it's we are very, very lucky. I think in the UK we're pretty accepting, so we're definitely one of the more forward countries for sure.
Mm.
To finish us off and kind of to end this, I want to end it on a fun kind of high end topic. I want to talk to you about sex toys because you have spoken openly about sex toys before on your Instagram. And so, first thing I want to ask you is why haven't you made your own sex toys? I can see Pussy Parlor branded sex
Oh my
toys. This needs to be a new business venture, I
God.
think.
It does. It does. I would love to do that actually.
That would be amazing. I actually genuinely think you should. I think if I was going to buy sex toys of someone, if I was, a woman that was like looking for, someone else who, had a certain, I don't know, vibrator or whatever, I'd go to someone that I follow, So if you posted and was like, listen, I've created this vibrator that for me is just amazing, I think loads of people would buy it because they'd be like, well, listen, if it's good enough for Kitty, it's going to be good enough for me. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
for you, how much of a role do sex toys play in your sort of sexual experiences? Like, are they quite essential to you, or do you think you could live without them?
Um, well, I have this like interesting thing. I don't actually use vibrators anymore. I stopped using them, and I only use like crystal and glass sex toys. I have a metal one as well. But yeah, I
Oh,
stopped use yeah, I
why?
stopped because
Environmentally friendly.
well, it's because I listened to this podcast and it was talking about how you get used to the vibrations and that you can only then orgasm with that sensation.
I
And I
saw,
was
yeah, did
like,
you post about this
I did post
actually?
about this.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say,
yeah,
now
yeah.
you're saying that, I'm like, wait, I've seen this somewhere, and
That
it
I'd
must,
heard this
yeah.
before. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you'd seen it. But yeah, so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I might try it. And then I found it so much easier to like come when I was with Adam, like from like fingers and tongue when I wasn't using vibrators. So when I was
Well,
using vibrators, I could only orgasm with the vibrator.
I was literally talking to a friend on the phone just the other day, and she was saying to me, she's like, Dan, she was like, I found the most amazing. It's basically, it looks like a suction machine. It like
Oh,
sucks
I've
onto
seen
the clit and then
those.
like it
Yeah.
like suctions them. And she was like, honestly, it's amazing. She was like, but the problem is that how am I ever going to be able to have a sexual, because she's single, so she's not having, she hasn't got a regular partner at the moment. And she was like, how am I going to ever go back to having sex with a guy? Because he's never going to be able to do that. Like, this machine is doing something that no human can really do. Do you feel
Yeah.
like that is something that, people are going to like suffer with if they don't do what you've done and like ditch the crazy sex toys and go back to something that's a little bit more, not basic, but something that
Just
isn't
like
quite the same
manual.
level? Right.
Yeah, I don't like I'm not against vibrators at all. Like I think it's a really good way to orgasm if you've never had an orgasm before and yeah, obviously when you're single as well. But I think it is something to think about like if you do find it hard to orgasm or come like with a person, it might be something to like think about, just try like a week or a month without it and just see how your sensations kind of change. I think you kind of train yourself to like be able to like come with certain sensations. So I don't think it's a
And
bad thing.
is when women use sex toys, I obviously know that with gay men when they use sex toys, they use it for inserting inside. But so vibrators and stuff aren't always used for that, are they? They're for external use, right?
Hmm.
So with the crystals and stuff, sorry, I know this is really in depth, but we're there, I think. So I think we
We're
may as well
there,
just
let's
keep
do
going. We're
it.
here. We're already here. Let's just go. So with the crystals, are they actually for internal or just external use?
So yeah,
Or both?
internal, and like it depends if you're into this kind of stuff, but with crystals they have a kind of like energetic vibration.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get like crystal wands, which are just like crystal dildos. Which I just think there's something kind of like a little bit more like special and like decadent about it as well.
They do. I have to say the crystal ones that I've seen. I remember seeing a meme. The first time I ever saw them was like it was a meme, and it was pictures of these like crystal dildos, and it was like when you're spiritual but you're also horny. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I saw them, I was like, wow, they look so beautiful. Like they do, like you said, they
Yeah.
look decadent, they look they look really gorgeous. So yeah, it's one of those things where I just think they do look really, really pretty. Are they expensive, if you don't mind me asking?
I can't remember what the prices are compared to like silicone toys. But I think they are a little bit more expensive, yeah. But they are really beautiful. They're gonna last a really, really long time, like, if you look after them, like, forever. Um,
I assume
and
they're probably easy to clean as well, right?
yeah, yeah, super easy to clean. Um, and yeah, if like a few years ago, if you told me that I'd be using crystal sex toys, I would have been like, that's a bit weird. It's like
Yeah.
it's cold, it's hard, like no. But
Oh yeah, it's
it's
cold. Fuck.
cold,
Didn't
yeah.
even think about that. But
But
does that create
then
an extra sensation?
yeah, so it starts off cold, but it's kind of fun to play with it. It's like temperature play. Like I don't know, I like it when it's cold at the beginning and I'm like, whoo, it gives me like little shivers. But then it
Yeah,
warms
yeah.
up to your body temperature, so then it
Right.
will warm up quite quickly. It's not going to be like
Yeah,
freezing
yeah.
cold when you put it inside you. Yeah.
And have you ever had to sort of like go like do you travel with them? Like or do you ever have periods where you just don't use them at all, or are you very much a sex toy addict?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Um, um, I don't really travel with my crystal glass ones because I'm worried that they'll break like in transit.
Oh, could you
But
imagine? Yeah.
I know I used to always have like a little bullet vibrator that I used to bring with me everywhere. But I quite like playing a bit of a game with myself where I had kind of deprived myself of like masturbating for a little bit. So then when I do
Hmm.
get to do it, it's like extra amazing.
Even better. Well, I
Yeah,
think men do that as well. Like if we wait a few days, it makes it even better when you do.
yeah.
But
But it's so difficult.
yeah, yeah, I remember meeting someone I used to work with. She said to me, I actually maybe I should suggest this to her. I haven't spoken to her in years, but maybe this will be the opening message. I'll just be like, hey babes, just to let you know, like she used to be with a guy and she could never ever come with him. She always had to use her vibrator because she'd gotten so used to it. So it was that whole thing of
Yeah.
she always had to finish herself off. And I remember one of the guys at the office was like, "Oh, Anna always has to finish herself off, or whatever." Like I'm like, "Isn't that odd?" I remember thinking that's odd, and now I realise actually maybe it's because she was using the vibrator too much. She'd gotten too used to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But
That's what
yeah,
I
isn't
was like.
that?
I was exactly the same. Like I wouldn't be able, I'd have to like do it myself or use a toy. Yeah.
Why do you think, for some women, talking about masturbation, whether it be with toys or without, why is it such a taboo subject? Why do you think some women even deny that they even masturbate when they probably do, I'd assume? Why do you think that is? Why is there a shame attached to it?
I think it's just, yeah, it's just seen as like something vulgar or something, like a nice, lovely woman wouldn't do. But
Right.
I think like self-pleasuring is like the most important thing that you can do for yourself because,
Yeah.
once you know what your body likes, it's so much easier to express that with somebody else. And it's something that we all should all do. We should all connect with our bodies. I mean, loads of people haven't even, like, women haven't even looked at their vulvas or vaginas. They don't know what they look like. And I
But
feel
how
like,
do they do that? In a mirror,
in
you
a
mean?
mirror, yeah, I feel like,
Oh, I was like, but how? Okay, I see what
or,
you mean. Yeah,
just like, looking down, having a good kind of like explore, but we're kind of like shamed for it so much. We try not to look at it. We try not to see it. We're kind of told that, all the different shapes are ugly and things like that. So there's like so
yeah.
much shame surrounding like pleasure, female pleasure, and also like the appearance of like vulvas as well.
Yeah. And do you think that's getting better?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the more we talk about it, the better it will get, and there shouldn't be any shame around it. It's just something that's like normal, and we should all do it.
Yeah, 100%. And so when is the Pussy Parlor sex toy release going to be?
It's going to be next
Yeah, next
year.
month actually. Yeah, I'll tell you what, right? If you actually do launch a sex toy business and it makes you like a millionaire, I need a cut of that shit because you heard it here, everyone. I shouted that idea. I put it into the universe. So when Kitty's got best selling like freaking like vibrators and stuff, crystal dildos. You know who gave her that idea, okay?
Right. So all credit to Dan.
Yeah. Kitty, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I love everything that you do, and you're just doing amazing. So just keep doing everything you're doing, and please bring Pussy Parlour down to London so I can come and watch, because I would love to see
Yes. Oh, I definitely will.
it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun to chat.
No worries at all. Take care of yourself. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Really hope you enjoyed it. And remember, you can be in with a chance of winning a massive bunch of Polos goodies. All you got to do is head to the podcast platform that you're listening to this on now. Give us a cheeky 5 stars, because I would really appreciate it. Screenshot it and send it to me. All of the people who do this are going to get entered into a prize draw to win a big bunch of Polos goodies. So go and do it now. It really helps me out. And it also means that this podcast will be viewed by lots more people. So yeah, hopefully we can spread more love and teach more people about crystal dildos, because come on, who doesn't want to learn about crystal dildos? Thanks again for listening, and until next time, mwah.
That was all the tea that you can get this week. Join me next time.